France, in Mexico, I understand, and perhaps other exotic countries. So maybe Professor Gintautas, you would like to start our conversation and ask Josip.
Yeah, Josip is as well anthropologist. He defended his PhD and published his articles, and now he's prepared new book in anthropology. As well, it's very interesting that you involved in Latin America studies and post-colonial. And my first question, how do you consider as an artist and anthropologist contemporary post-colonial studies? What does it mean for you? Why it's important for you?
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, this is a good question. As I already point out, I'm both. So I'm, as a visual artist, I'm kind of practitioner, also as a professor. So I think the most important thing, let me say this in very Marxist sense, more important is the practice than a theory. So basically, in my practice, what I do, I organize different type of workshop in Croatia and Mexico, working on these post-colonial issues. So not keeping all the thing in the theory. Normally, from the theoretical approach, I mean, everything starts much earlier with Edward Said and other people, and then Gayatri Spivak and all other scholars, and it's growing, and especially it's growing with the Black Lives Matter. I mean, this sense about the post-colonial, not only perspective, but also the problem in America generally. I mean, the Black Lives Matter open a lot of problem, and also problem of public monuments and problem in art and the other thing. So, but let me go back. I mean, what I do, I try all the time through the different art projects, which include exhibition, some conference, workshops, and a field work to rethink this issue on post-colonial power and on different topic of trauma in Latin America.
Mm-hmm. May I ask you, how do you see technological development, very fast technological development, artificial intelligence, participation in our everyday life in connection with the future of art, installations? Is it the future of art, or can we still hope for, so to speak, traditional picture, no installation, but something that material that used to be that we can touch? What is your vision of the future of art in combination with the very fast technological development?
Okay, thank you, Tomas, from this question. Now we switch to some completely other issue. I mean, maybe before switching to artificial intelligence, I can say something about the artwork which we're dealing with virtual reality. Because in contemporary art, some of the artists start to work with virtual reality, and basically the result was not good. It was kitsch. Not a good quality camp. Some of the artists like Bruce Nauman and some other produce some very interesting result. So basically what I see with the media of virtual reality, I will call it a media, because it's also a system of information, a system of communication, because each artwork communicates with its media. So now, virtual reality and the artificial intelligence, in the sense of art, it's also media. So when the new media start, we need some time to establish a media language. So what I see, like, for example, I will give you a comparison. When the movie was created, basically, the media of movie was very similar to painting, because there was no, generally there was no idea about the new media. So they just borrow from the painting into the movie. And then Eisenstein and in America, Griffith, they designed something which we call a movie media language, like editing, you know, and some other thing. So I think in virtual reality and artificial intelligence, this new language, media language, have to be developed. It's not still developed. What I see now, how artists use basically artificial intelligence, I mean, it's not good result. It's very decorative, or it's still not, let's say, very decorative, or it's still not very clean if they use it in post-conceptual art. They are more playing with it. Like one of the students I teach, she used artificial intelligence in researching one part of Zagreb, which was during a socialism, which was a pioneer. They call it a pioneer city. Pioneer was like a socialist youth. So it was a huge complex which had this like a socialist heritage. After it was abandoned, now there is even some refugees, some youth are coming there, but it's have this socialist past. So basically she wanted to deal with the history of the place, and she just put some information of this place into the artificial intelligence, and the result was a kind of joke, you know. So it's not how to say, I see this still as a threat, because the media language is not developed. It will be developed in the future. Maybe other question is about the copyright, who is author, who is not. You are a professor at university like me, and sometimes people ask me, how you will recognize if some of your students use to write their seminar artificial intelligence? I always say I will know it for sure, because like before, if somebody copy paste the seminar or steal, or somebody else wrote you, because you know the student, you know him by person, and you know his or her capacity for writing. So very similar. I mean, very similar with artificial intelligence.
By the way, I think in 2021 there was a scandal in the United States. There was a competition for the best drawing under particular criteria. Maybe you know that case, that it turned out that the winner of the contest was artificial intelligence that made the best painting when it was prohibited by the rules. But it turned out that the winner deceived the committee, and then after winning it, he acknowledged that it wasn't him who made the painting, in order to prove that now artificial intelligence can paint just as well as a human being. Well, do you see that as a ethical and also copyright issue?
No, for sure it's a copyright, because you know, to create a certain painting tool, you use some knowledge, and still, and this knowledge was produced by somebody, or you use some style, let's say, because in artificial intelligence you can use the option, like, you know, doing something with like a impressionist style or whatever. Yeah. But basically, I mean, it's the thing that. I mean, somebody produced it. So it's a question of copyright. You know, it's a question of copyright. And in the future, these have to be solved. Also, so this is one part of the problem. Another part of the problem is result. So I think still artists and the scholars use it more like to do the experiment. You know, now it's like a wizard, you know, thing. People are coming to artificial intelligence. Look what it can do, or what it can create. So we are still like we have this element of surprise. We have this element of wondering. It's still like a miracle. Like when Brother Lumiere was showing the first movie, you know, people was also wondering and being in shock. So it's still same thing with the artificial intelligence. But I said it's a process which have to be continued.
Another question for you. You know that Putin ordinarily presents himself as a big defender of post-colonial world, you know, in the last his speeches. And he interprets that Russia fights for post-colonial people, you know, in Latin America and Africa, and try to use this for his own propaganda purposes. From the other side, Russian small Russian nations as Bashkirs, Tatars, you know, Kalmyks and others, they would like to develop their own post-colonial vision, art, and studies, and do post-colonial projects. However, Russia negates this one post-colonialism. So from the one side, they provide this anti-Western post-colonial discourse, and especially in the case of Mexico, Colombia, Guatemala, and other Latin America countries. From the other side, they completely, Russian fascists completely negates their own nations and their cultural autonomy. So we see how it's very new that post-colonial discourse could be included into fascist discourse, which never happened before. What does it mean? How do you think in this one sense for leftist movement, you know, and so this misuse of post-colonial discourse or misusing of post-colonial art?
Okay, this is a very good statement. I completely agree with you because there is no difference between imperialism. So Russian imperialism and colonialism just had another form. Like, for example, me coming from Balkan, also there was a different type of colonialism. We have Austro-Hungarian colonialism, then we had the Venice colonialism. We've been colonized by Ottoman. Then last phase we've been colonized by the Serbs. So I mean, you have a different type of colonialism, and methods are different. You know, once I asked one student of mine in Mexico, what was the difference between colonization in today United States and colonization in Mexico, like in Spanish part and Portugal part and English part. Yeah. So he explained me that the methods are different. And that English was colonizing by killing, by genocide. Portuguese, they've been colonizing by robbing, stealing. And Spanish, they've been colonizing by sex, raping. And that's the reason why in the country where it's a Spanish language, you have so many mixed people, because they use a sex and raping as a form of colonization. So this is a very interesting answer because it's explaining you that colonization can be different. And now this what Russian official politics is doing, that they're using idea post-colonial discourse for their own fascism. It's really unique. And why this can happen? It can happen because basically in Latin America, they really suffer now on American colonialism, which is normally it's economical, it's different, it's not by raping, it's not by killing, it's by the economical domination and other type of domination. Normally it's produced with multinational companies, basically from United States, and the other type of domination. And then, for example, in Mexico, you have a political elite, and basically this political elite, they send their children to study in the United States, like the best faculty, best university, and they are coming back and they rule the country. Even they don't trust to their own university. This is the interesting thing. So the colonization are going also through education. And normally because of this in Latin America, because they always see United States as a kind of enemy, they see Russia, which is like the biggest enemy of United States, as a friend, which is completely ridiculous. And normally they recognize one imperialism, don't recognize the another. And I had a big problem. For example, once I spoke with one colleague in Mexico City, and he was denying Gulag. Even some Mexican leftists, they think that Gulag that it doesn't exist, that it's a Western America propaganda, so their stupid belief in Russia as a kind of country which inherits the socialist and communist tradition and the leftist idea, it's stupid. I mean, last summer when I was in Lima in Peru, also you see the headquarters of the Communist Party of Peru, and you see the poster with Putin, and it's written down. It's written Putin, the real communist. So this is what I think.
And even the Pope Francis, who is from Argentina, even he now keeps going to Hungary to visit Orban. He keeps seeking peace. I see even from the side of the Pope, there is really a lack of understanding.
No, I think, Pope Francis, he, as a typical South American representative, he don't understand European history, and he is not conscious on Russian imperialism or different form of imperialism. It's very, very visible. I think he is completely stuck in the situation. And we have now, for example, when John Paul II was the Pope, we had like an opposite, but very far opposite. And then he was afraid of everything which was basically linked. This was another extreme, everything which was coming from the East. But now we have somebody who completely don't understand. And it's what is bizarre, what I see as a bizarre at this moment, because he's doing this, Pope is doing this with this very nice idea of ecumenism. But how to produce ecumenism with the fascists, sorry.
Yeah, you're right, and especially concerning Putin, who is the biggest oligarch and billionaire, and exploitator, and in the Russia, and one of the biggest in the world. He is interpreted as a communist, and the communist idea. This is strange. I see here the crisis of leftist movement. And this crisis of leftist movements explains us why do they use this post-colonialism as misconception, for propaganda and imperial purposes. But as Josip, you are a visitor of as well of Zapatistas in Chiapas region, You met with them, and could you a little bit tell us about their own condition? What do they think now about the world? What do they fight? What's the art of them? What's from your anthropological viewpoint?
Okay. What I personally can tell you, I know personally one of the leader of the Zapatists, and I basically who create the idea, and his wife. They're both anthropologists. I will not mention their name. With them, I don't discuss about this war because I see no sense, no sense. But what I respect in Zapatist movement in Mexico is that it's really autonomous territory, and it's really organized by direct democracy. And what is maybe the most interesting, it's only part in Mexico where you don't have cartels, So this is, people don't understand also that this horrible cartel industry is organized because there is a market for the drugs, and the market for the drugs is basically United States. So again, it's connected. This is the reason why their leftists basically see always America as the enemy. Understand? So this is like a very black and white image,
Yeah, but do you consider them as a parties as some kind of autonomist because they fight against big corporations, cartels and so on? It is not similar to a traditional communist who ordinarily supports big industries, cartels, corporations, and the capital. This is why sometimes probably people mixed Putin with communists because he is big supporter of state capitalism, as is his own capitalism.
It's this what Antonio Negri once said. Antonio Negri said that I mean, basically in Yugoslavia also we had this self-management socialism, but he said that it was a state capitalism. I mean, it's all state capitalism, because if you have a surplus, you all the time in capitalism. But I mean, maybe a little bit about this Zapatist organization. I mean, it's have this also ethnical background, because these people who run this party of Mexico, they are basically they are Mayan. They speak Mayan language, so it's a different language. It's not Spanish, and so in a way, it's also connected, you know, with the real colonization, because Mayan people, contrary to Aztecs, they've been more clever. Why? Because they, the colleague of mine in Mexico told me this story. They were very successful. They took as a prisoner one Jesuit priest, and they could learn the language. And they, for example, they knew the Spanish are not gods. And this was the mistake by the Aztecs. I mean, the mistake was because they believed the Cortex was gods. So in a way, Mayan people, they keep their own tradition, especially in Yucatan and normally in Chiapas. And so this autonomous zone, okay, it's include also like ethnical idea, because it's basically Mayan autonomy. And also, I mean, the interesting thing there, what you it's about industrialization. So I think in communism, industrialization was basically connected with the idea how to get rid of the conservative society. I know in socialist Yugoslavia, basically they were speaking that Yugoslavia is a country of workers and honest intelligence. So nobody mentioned a peasant. Why? Because village in this Yugoslavian Marxist narration was imagined like something conservative, retrograde, and basically if you move a peasant, if you move a villager to the city, if they become a worker, they're gonna transform, you know, into something different. They will become a proletariat, and they will have this proletariat consciousness. So, you know, this idea of industrialization basically was in communism linked with this. And that's the reason why they created the kolkhoz. You know, they created, like you've been part of Soviet Union, you had a kolkhoz. In Yugoslavia, we didn't have a kolkhoz. They tried, but they saw it will be fucking impossible. So they created a cooperative where you could be part of cooperative by your own will. But they didn't took a property. So in Yugoslavia, peasant could have a land, but they forced them because through this industrialization, they thought they will change. They will change in a way the position of the peasant. I mean, what is going on in Chiapas? I'm not so big expert. I mean, because I just know the people who created it from a philosophical, ideological part of. The view, but it's not about it's a defense to the company, but it's more like a small commune, you know, which is organizing some production. So it's not like a part of Mexico, which is highly industrialized. I mean, and basically, normally that they are fighting against the company. Corporation is, in the term of biopolitics, corporation is the one who are creating this system of power and this system of slavery.
Josip, could you explain about the role of art and culture in Chiapas province between the Zapatists? Do they have some kind of artist movement, or just, you know, organize their own social life?
Okay, I didn't work there. I told you I didn't work there intensively. I work in Mexico in another place called San Luis Potosi, basically where you have also Zapatist idea. Okay, this I can tell you more about, because it will be
okay. In any way, the rule of art.
So this I will tell you. I mean, there is this is a very interesting. Why? Because basically in San Luis Potosi, another city in Mexico, but on a case of San Luis Potosi, where I organized a workshop and I had a research, you can see a Zapatist monument in a public space, which are completely romanticized. So you have a basically colonial image of the Zapatis. And what my student in Mexico, Mexican done, basically they criticize these people. They were creating a new image of this monument, playing with the new type of Mexican, because there is some Mexican who want to be like American, and they behave like American, and basically they are the most close to this corporative American consciousness. Then you have like an old leftist, you have a lot of idea. But what is interesting that generally in Mexico, dominant ideology, the Zapatist movement is completely the old one. It's romanticized, and you can see it in public space. And then you see the public monument of the Zapatis, which look like, you know, the very similar to the, for example, to some 19th century continental European monument to some battle, or the socialist monument to battle in Second World War. What I wanted to say, and what is interesting now, because this was the first part of my workshop, a student been researching these monuments, and they be researching also some neighborhood in San Luis Potosi, which are kind of problematic with the cartels. You know, first they have to present what is going on there in this neighborhood and what is going on with this monument, with this imaginary of Zapatis, because this is two images which we have about, basically about Latin America. There is drugs and there is revolutionary. You know, you have Che Guevara or you have Pablo Escobar, understand, or El Chapo. This is completely wrong. Normally Latin America is much more. It's not only that. And always in American movie, in Hollywood movie, you see when people are passing, this is a completely racist. When they're passing United States-Mexican border, from one side you have a nice, you know, everything is organized, policemen, other side you have some immediately alcohol, prostitute, you know. This is the image which was given to us, to European, basically, and this is the division. So what first thing which I done with the student, okay, present me now these two problems. One neighborhood could really look like this image, and present me these Zapatis, you know, converted now in like official ideology, but also with the Western discourse. And then when they present, we start to work how to demolish this image, how to rethink this image, what we can do, basically, using the term of social art, or maybe not. What is the possibility? You know, because the everyday of the student with whom I work there in Mexico, everyday life is like one of the student I work, she created the video like in the neighborhood she live, and it's not so danger. Like, and then she's walking with the dog, and then she's showing the cross, the flower, you know, the one woman was killed and raped there and there. So it's an everyday life. They're surrounded by this, not only problematic neighborhood. And then, but normally all life there is different. It's not only this, but this is what we, in our colonial brain, imagine about Latin America, which is completely wrong, but because there is much more thing, you know, much more thing than this.
That's interesting, and I try to apply your experience and think about Ukrainian case, you know, because Ukrainian and we meet very it looks like non-similar, but really quite similar problems, because from the one side, Ukrainians try to create their own image independent from Soviet Union and Russia. In the earlier period, the same was in Baltic countries, when we try to escape from this, you know, imperial image that we are Russians, you know, and all our culture should be Russia. But it's not so easy to create your own vision, you know, or your own critical artworks only in collaboration. Tomas asked you about, Francis Hurst Pope. But I remember, that as well about situation, in Russia, that we see this conflict between Orthodox churches, and Orthodox churches split in between Russia and Ukraine. But in any way, churches do very big influence on post-colonial or imperial feeling, and this is as well as probably exists in Latin America. What can you say about the role of Catholic Church or other churches and their influence on this, I would say, colonial and post-colonial conditions? Do church helps to escape from this, imperial or colonial condition, or just conservate, or keep you in this one condition because church is very conservative and don't allow this modernization? What's your opinion about role of church, probably Catholic Church, in Mexico in this concerning colonial, post-colonial condition?
Okay, this is a very hard topic here. Basically, in Mexico, we can speak about Catholic Church because it's dominant. But I mean, the condition how Catholic Church worked there from Juarez time is completely different, because Mexico, in a way, is organized like extreme secular state. So, I mean, the church property was taken before. So basically, their property is limited, and they work. They are focused more to work with the people. So basically, they are linked to something which they call before theology of liberation, for this movement. And but what I see, I mean, they cannot operate like in Europe. I mean, first, I mean, Catholicism is a kind of eclectic religion. Everywhere they come, during colonization, they were taking from a different culture. They are shopping from different culture and incorporating it into their tradition and the rituals. So it's very obvious in Mexico. So the friend of mine, Miquel Vasallo, and he showed me one of the first church in Mexico, how it looked like. I mean, it's open space, and you have the altar on the open space and one cross. And then I asked him, I said, there is no building, it's just open space. And then he explained, yes, this is how they start. Why? Because the Aztecs and Maya, they had a ritual on the top of the pyramid, on plateau. So it was always, the ritual was on the open space. And so normally native people who've been colonized and baptized, now become a Christian or Catholics, they have to accept it. And they couldn't accept it that ritual is in some closed space. Understand? The closed space was created after. So, I mean, basically, this is eclectic idea. So now also they operate, they are much normally more close to the poor, and they are working more like a social work and different. I mean, what I was impressed in Mexico, what I'm impressed all the time. I mean, basically, when you come to the church, it's like a very beautiful ritual. Once for the Christmas, I was there 5 times in different services, because they have a singing. It's full of. It's very interesting. I mean, basically, it's like artwork. So for us, for European, you can come there and look it like artwork, because the singing is so beautiful. And then you see it's full of people. They work in different traditions. So normally they keep the colonization, but let's say more clever, including the elements in the ritual, in the new, let's say new quality. This dirty side, I don't know. What is going on. They are in Latin America. They are focused on universities. So the very good private university are run by the church. I saw it in Bogota, in Colombia. I think in Peru also. In Mexico, no. As I said, Mexico is more secular state. So the things are different. Yeah.
And about this, shamanistic or native movements, as well interesting how they are important because tourists and different occultism lovers, they imagine Mexico as the Don Juan place, where everything happened with peyote dreams, coyotes, and so on. That this is so imagined a holy or magical place, and not only Mexico, but as well many of Latin America countries, Amazon jungles are imagined as magical places. It's not only about Che Guevara and these mafia gangs, but as well about about peyote and traveling to Cosmos. How it's and actually it's very popular between tourists, probably tourist industries. And could you explain the role of all this New Age and shamanism in your studies, as well in these regions of Mexico where you've been?
Okay. Let me first explain. I mean, I done my PhD research in India. My research is still continuing. I was researching the space in Tibetan Buddhist painting, and basically this conceptualization of the space in Tibetan Buddhist painting is produced with the state of trance. So they use a kind of trance through meditation to paint and to produce again with the painting a kind of state of trance. So at this state of trance, you can normally compare it to psychedelic experience. Okay, it is a psychedelic experience, but without the psychedelic substance. Like a shaman. Shaman work with the drums, or he work with the substance. So it's different type of trance. So let me go back to your question. Basically, I mean, in this Western post-colonial gaze, Mexico is linked normally to Carlos Castaneda, and Amazona region to ayahuasca. And Mexico, I mean, generally with Carlos Castaneda, everything is linked to this cactus peyote. So I done an exhibition 2021, and I done 3 times I done research in the desert of Virkuta. So the end of the desert of Virkuta is city of Real de 14. And basically this city is very interesting for this all New Age pilgrimage, but also a lot of famous people are coming there like to have this cosmic experience. I call this, I mean, all this New Age protocol, New Age experience, I call it like an instant enlightenment, because they are all coming for kind of enlightenment, but instant, fast nirvana. Okay, so to Real de 14, Julia Roberts came, then John Depp, many famous people, and then you have, I will not again mention the name, person who is responsible to bring them to the desert and to have peyote experience. And this person is the one who is working with the star. Normally, this is again illegal in Mexico, because the peyote ritual is only for Huachol Indians or Yak Indians, which are on the north, which basically Sonora Desert. This is another desert and the holy place of Huachol Indians, where they believe that this is center of the world, like Oftamos, like Delphi for them, yeah? So they believe the center of the world that is there, cosmos was created, and basically they don't live in the desert. They live in another part of Mexico, like around 500 kilometers far away, and they are coming there to do the peyote pilgrimage. They cut a lot of peyote, and then in the trance, they communicate with their God. Even they believe that the peyote is a God. So for them, peyote is not only, this is very interesting, it's not only psychedelic substance which bring them to alter state of the consciousness, like a shaman in shamanistic tradition use this drum or this, and then he climbed to the ladder up to other world. For them, it's not only the ladder to other world, it's also a God. Okay, this is a very, very complex. Then they have deer as a God, they have different symbol. but peyote is a god. And what is interesting, this is completely mixed with Catholic tradition. So in Real de 14, you have a church, Franciscan Church of San Antonio, a huge church. So you have a Catholic pilgrimage and also peyote pilgrimage, Huachol and the other. And then on the main square, I was there for the Christmas, 2021, you have a Christmas tree. And on the Christmas tree, you have the ornaments, but it's not ball, it's a small peyote. They do the small peyote for the Christmas tree. So this is the top crazy combination where I see that, Catholic tradition also, allow, this peyote pilgrimage and ornament of the official Christmas tree of the church, on the main square. So it's, some things are really different, But let me go back to Real de 14. Yeah, so this is interesting that the city was basically also product of colonization, because Spanish constructed there to use it as a mine, because there was a silver mine then. And then when the silver was done, it was abandoned completely. Nobody lived there. And then in the 60s, 70s with the hippies, and then normally after Carlos Castaneda, start to be again very populated. So you have a lot of hotel there, a lot of people are coming there, but it's illegal. So it's when you go to the desert, it's written, it's prohibited by law. I don't know what is the punishment. Even you can go 10 years to prison, they say, But in Mexico, the police is same as cartel, You have in some city, like in San Luis Potosí, even you have a cartel organized by police. So police have its own cartel. So, it's very flexible law, understand? So that's the reason why people who bring this new age people to the desert, they can do it, Even these people are not Indian, they are going there and they are showing them the place. So you have a lot of layer in this tradition. But for me, what was interesting, I was walking in the desert with the person who know it. He was showing me the holy place of the Indian and the shrine. After eating peyote, basically the medicine man of Huachol, he is working with the offering of the people. So on the shrine, you have the offering. And basically, then you see the wishes, for what people are afraid, for what offering is for. And then you see like a small, made by wax or some other material, small truck. Somebody want a truck or want a car, Also this religion, for us looks so spiritual, like peyote, But basically, people want a new car. So again, it's, it's a kind of a new age mix also in this, like in Amazonas, Peru or Brazil with ayahuasca. People come there and pay a very expensive treatment. In Peru, for example, it's completely legal. They call it ayahuasca treatment. So people pay it like Marina Abramovic. They go and they do this ritual as a part of experience. And they think that they reach some state of consciousness, which is completely instant. Yeah.
Tomas?
I know that our guest has to end because we agreed on 45 minutes, but it's so interesting, so exotic, so your stories are so lively that my suggestion is to call it the first part of our podcast with you, and in the near future to plan a second part.
Yeah, I agree.
Listen, there is a lot of story. We can extend a little bit more. Because it's so many elements. Normally, there is a danger. I went to some place which are, quite complicated to go. And I could go because of the friend of mine, Manolo Cocho from Mexico City, who have a house in Portrero near the 14. He know the Indians, he know the pilgrimage, he could show me the place. Or Miguel Vasallo, anthropologist from Mexico City, who basically was a right hand of Comandante Marcos in Chiapas, And then when you have the interest, but this is the normal in anthropology, you need